There's a lot of quiet time. I shut out a lot of noise. I only have people in my life that need to be there. If you don't need to be in my life, I'm not about acquiring more friends. I'm not about noise. I'm about, okay, are you trying to go somewhere? You can jump on board. If not, I don't want to hear all your problems. Do you have a solution for your problem? That's what I'm all about right now. So I'm not about whining and complaining. I'm about, okay, we need to go this way. I'm big into visualization and also self-talk. But also like, where do I want to be in life? Where do I see myself? And then I start making these plans on how I'm going to get there. And I don't deviate from that plan. Because I realized once I was talking to myself the right way and all this wasn't in my mind, wow, I went from this kid who thought he was dumb, not successful, insecure, who stuttered when I first saw somebody, to a person who can now do all these things just because I now control my own mind. And I don't care. A lot of people say you don't care. When you get to the point where you really don't care, you become very, very dangerous. I'm not saying don't care like, I don't care if I do that. No, when you don't care about other people and how they view you, about how you walk, how you talk, how you dress, where you want to go with your life. You know, growing up, I didn't want to tell anybody I wanted to be in the military. Because why? Some of my black friends, I was afraid of what they think. You know, why you want to join the military? I was afraid of what other people thought about me. So now, not going to the military, I didn't know you want to join the military. Yeah, I didn't tell you because I was afraid of what you thought. Once again, man, you're allowing other people to shackle your mind. It's the worst thing in the world. So in that book, it's a raw, very humbling version of David Goggins. You know, I went down to the grassroots, to the soil, to the sewer of my life. It's the stuff that we don't want to talk about. It's the stuff that we don't want that person next to you in line knowing. And I had to have the courage to say it out loud to people. And so I was able to really go back and put so much detail into my story was we all have different things in our life that have scarred us. We want to act like those scars don't exist. So those scars, like, you know, if you go out and you get cut, that scar is going to be there on your arm. You can go down and look at that cut and say, oh, or that scar and say, oh, that happened from, you know, I was in the kitchen, or what happened. We have the same thing on our brain. I have all these scars on my brain from growing up, from, you know, being abused, from suffering through life, from having a learning disability, from stuttering, from having just a really bad childhood. And so all those memories, I had to cut open that scar and go into it. And that was a hard process for me to do. Not only was that a hard process for me to do, for me to have the courage to share that with people, you know, because I'm the so-called toughest man on the planet. So they think. So for me to break open that shell and tell people, hey, that wasn't always me. It's hard to do, you know? It's hard to do. So it was a tough process. The other day, I'm watching this basketball game. Team was down by 2 points with a minute to go. Guy comes down the court, misses a game-tying field goal. He immediately puts his head down. All I'm thinking about is, man, get back in the game, get back on defense. Where am I going with this? The other day, I put a video up about my leg, all that edema. I saw some good comments, saw some bad comments. One comment in particular, it stated, be careful who you listen to. You're right. Be careful who you listen to. That variable you listen to might just keep you on your ass your entire life. I ain't hear no whistle blow in my life, so I'm gonna keep on playing. Looking for every opportunity I can. Be different. Hey, I'm not crazy. I'm just not you. Stay hard. You don't want to break open that callus, that scar in your mind. You don't want to break, you have to break it open, let that blood flow. You have to let blood flow in your brain. You have to let all that stuff flow out. All that toxic stuff that you have trapped in there has to start flowing out now. So, like you said, you are doing this to yourself. Yes, people may have helped you get there, but it's now on you. It's a painful truth. Painful truth. Like all those people in high school and everything else, they don't know how you're going to end up. So you got to make sure that you constantly are rewriting your book. You have to constantly rewrite your book every day of your life. These aren't just words I say. This is how I have to live. Like These are conversations I have with myself. And I say it everywhere I go, the most important conversation when you have with yourself. You live with it every single day. But most of our conversations are not the right ones. They're not the ones that are going to push us to the place we need to go. They're the ones that are going to keep us sitting in that toxic environment that you've helped create and everybody else helped create, and you just live in it. You live in that muck, and that conversation just plays in your head, and that becomes you. And what's funny about that, I often say it, on the other side of that extreme place that I call suffering, there's a whole nother world that people have not even examined. But you have to go to that extreme place to examine it. We want to stay here in this comfortable place. Once you're willing to push yourself to that extreme place, it's like a whole nother universe. It's almost like you're an astronaut and you've examined something like up in outer space. No, it's always been there. But you have to be going through all the muck to examine it. And you're like, oh God, through all this crap, there's a whole other universe over here in my mind. Whole other universe. Well, what happened there was we went to Indianapolis, Indiana, and my mom met this guy. And my mom's life was starting to get better. His name was Wilmoth. And I'm sure you know about it from reading the book. Yep. He got murdered. And when he got murdered, we moved back to this small town in Brazil, Indiana. So when I moved back to Indiana, that's when the real racism happened for me. You know, as a young kid, when you're 8, 9, 10 years old, kids don't give a crap what color you are. They don't even know any better. But when I came back, when I was like 14, 15, 16 years old, the kids started realizing this looks way different than me. So I came from Indianapolis where there was a different culture there, man. You know, I hung around a lot of black people. You're sagging your pants. You're wearing big bomber jackets. You know, everything is just different. So I created a whole new David Goggins. And when I came back to Brazil, Indiana, it was all these white people. I walked in the door of school, man. It's like the daggone music stopped. You know, it was like it's like the first thuggish kid they'd ever seen. But I had developed this character, and the character was basically hiding the real insecure me. So I would develop all these different hairstyles. I did the old man hairstyle where you shave the whole top of your head and leave the whole side with hair. You know, I did the reverse part where I shaved my whole head and I had a little piece of hair up here. I just sit back and I think about, okay, how can I create friends, create a character, create a whole new persona so that people would notice me, not just for my color, but notice me for this guy's just cool, he's just different. So I was going so far away from who I was and who I should have been just by creating these characters, man. So it started with just trying to get away from the scared, afraid kid I was.